Welcome back to the story about Peter Pan friends. Once again, this is Panda Millie speaking to you. Let's find out together what Wendy and Peter will experience this time. The next morning, as the sun was just beginning to filter through the branches of the trees, Peter took Wendy and her brothers to a place hidden from the whole world, to their secret hideout, a little house underground. Peter showed it to them excitedly. "So, now I'll show you our real home. It's right here, beneath our feet." They stood in a clearing surrounded by trees. In their trunks were small openings, just big enough for one boy to slide down through. John was surprised. "Into a tree? You have an entrance to your house through a tree?" "Exactly," Peter agreed proudly. "Each of us has our own tree that leads down." And so, one by one, they slid down through the insides of the hollow trees, like down a slide that led straight into their magical hideout. And underground, a completely different world opened up. It was a large, cozy room carved into the roots of the trees. Everything glowed with a gentle warmth. The walls were covered with curtains of spider webs that shimmered like silk. There were beds made of moss, a table from twisted roots, and benches shaped from smooth branches. "So, Wendy, do you like our home?" Peter asked proudly. Wendy couldn't stop looking around. "It's beautiful. It's as if you've imagined a house straight out of a fairy tale." From that day on, Wendy stayed in the underground house together with Peter Pan, Michael, John, and all the lost boys. And every evening, she told them a new story. In Neverland, time passed in a very peculiar way. Some days felt as long as fairy tales, while others flew by so quickly that only a memory of laughter remained. And on one such day, Peter Pan suggested a trip to Wendy. "Come on, Wendy. I'll show you one of the most beautiful places on the island, the bay where we can see mermaids." Wendy liked the idea. "It sounds like something out of a fairy tale. Mermaids? Do they really exist?" Peter only gave a mischievous grin and took Wendy's hand. Together they flew above the treetops, over forests and rocky cliffs, until beneath them spread a shimmering circle of water, a turquoise lagoon, edged with white stones and covered in seaweed. And there, among the rocks, long hair shimmered, sparkling tails flickered. "They are there, Peter! I can see them!" Wendy cried. "They are like something out of a fairy tale. It almost makes me believe I'm dreaming." Peter Pan and Wendy sat on the edge of a rocky outcrop, their legs dangling above the shimmering water. The mermaids flickered beneath their surface like shadows, their laughter echoing like the whisper of waves. The water gleamed like a mirror, and the sun slowly dipped toward the horizon. Peter grew thoughtful and said, "When the tide comes in, the water floods this entire rock. Then only a small piece of it sticks out above the surface. We call it the skull because of its shape. Wendy ran her fingers over the stone and said softly, "It's medical here, but also a little dangerous, isn't it?" Peter smiled and nodded. "Yes, here in Neverland, everything is beautiful and dangerous at the same time." He fell silent for a moment, then looked at Wendy. "But don't be afraid, you're here with me." Wendy leaned back against the rock and took a deep breath of the sea air. The sun's rays warmed her face, and she felt as if she were in a dream. For a moment she closed her eyes, as if she wanted to keep that moment in her memory forever. Peter Pan stretched out on the rock beside her, folded his hands behind his head, and contentedly closed his eyes. Sleepily he murmured, "I think I'll take a little nap, just for a while." Wendy remained sitting, gazing out at the sea, enjoying the calm she felt in that moment. When suddenly Peter jerked awake, he opened his eyes sharply and sat up. He had heard something. Nearby, from the other side of the cliff, came a faint, muffled whisper. A dangerous whisper. He slowly stood up, his ears straining to listen. The childlike carefree look vanished from his eyes. He whispered almost to himself, "It's them, pirates." Wendy turned to him and asked, startled, "Pirates? Really? Are you sure?" Peter Pan nodded and said a firm voice, "I'm sure. I know that sound. Quiet voices. They are getting closer. Something isn't right." Wendy stood up and took Peter's hand, but he let go. His eyes were already fixed on the dense forest beyond the beach, from where the whisper was coming. Peter quickly added, "I have to find out what's going on. Stay here. Hide if you hear anything." Wendy wanted to say something, but only whispered, "Be careful." But Peter was already running. He leaped across the rocks like a shadow, light as a feather. Wendy watched him, holding her breath, until he disappeared from sight behind the rocks. The bay suddenly grew even quieter than before. Something hung in the air, and Wendy felt that an adventure was coming, one where everything was truly at stake. What do you think, friends? Did Peter really hear pirates in the distance? I reveal that in the next part of the story. Until then, your Panda Millie says goodbye.